Hello there. I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Right now, as you settle in, something extraordinary is taking place within you. Billions of neurons are firing in intricate patterns, weaving together the very fabric of thought. Your brain, weighing barely more than a bag of flour, holds the most complex structure we have ever discovered in the universe. Tonight, we journey into the quiet wonder of intelligence, not as a single trait, but as a presence that flows through forests and oceans, through animals with minds unlike our own, and through the silent machinery of our own thoughts. Intelligence is the strange ability to imagine, to solve, to adapt, and to create new possibilities from almost nothing. It appears in the way a crow fashions a tool, in the way an octopus escapes a puzzle, in the way your own brain rewrites itself while you sleep. There is no test at the end, no rush, no urgency, just the gentle unfolding of one of nature's greatest mysteries to carry you softly towards sleep. So let your breathing slow, let your thoughts grow quiet, and allow yourself to drift into the peaceful wonder of minds both familiar and strange. Welcome to Drowsy Discovery. I am glad you found your way here tonight. Perhaps you have had a long day. Perhaps you simply enjoy falling asleep to thoughts about the remarkable nature of thinking itself. Either way, this space is for you. There is something deeply calming about contemplating intelligence. Every spark of insight, every moment of understanding, every quiet act of creativity carries within it a story billions of years in the making. You are part of that story. The same neural machinery that allows you to understand these words evolved over countless generations, refined through challenges you will never know. The wonder of the thinking mind has been passed down through every ancestor who ever puzzled over the stars. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here, too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, all you need to do is relax. So settle in, let the weight of the day drift away, and let us begin with the first of many quiet truths about the nature of intelligence. Intelligence is patient beyond measure. Learning happens gradually, understanding deepens over time, skills sharpen across a lifetime without you ever noticing. And yet, within all that slowness, there are sudden bursts of wonder, insights that arrive in an instant, solutions that emerge from nowhere, connections that form while you dream. Tonight, we will wander through the magnificent world of thinking minds. We will meet the patterns that shape understanding. We will discover the feelings that guide reasoning, and we will uncover truths about intelligence that may surprise even the most curious minds. But there is no hurry. Your brain has been learning since before you were born. It can continue its quiet work while you rest. Let us begin with what intelligence truly is. Intelligence may have emerged when early humans began to dream more vividly. Some researchers propose a fascinating connection between the evolution of human intelligence and the development of more elaborate dream states. As our ancestors' brains grew more complex, their dreams may have become richer and more narrative in structure. During these vivid nocturnal experiences, the sleeping brain could rehearse scenarios, test solutions to problems, and consolidate important memories without any real-world consequences. This internal simulation would have provided a safe space for cognitive experimentation. Over countless generations, individuals with more immersive dream lives might have gained subtle advantages in waking problem-solving. The ability to mentally generate and manipulate imaginary scenarios could have become one of the foundations of abstract thought. Dreams may have served as a training ground where the mind learned to construct alternative realities. The overlap between dreaming and imagination suggests a deep connection that persists today. This hypothesis suggests that the creativity we now associate with human intelligence was nurtured in the depths of sleep long before civilization began. The brain can physically rewire itself during a single night of intense learning. Neuroplasticity allows the brain to reshape its physical connections in response to experience, and this process accelerates dramatically during sleep. When you spend a day engaged in demanding mental activity, your brain tags the most important neural pathways for strengthening. During the night, while you rest, glial cells clear away debris, and synaptic connections are either reinforced or pruned. The result is that the brain you wake up with is subtly different from the one you had when you fell asleep. Studies have shown measurable changes in brain structure after intense learning episodes. New synapses form, existing ones strengthen, and unnecessary connections fade away. This process continues throughout the night across multiple sleep cycles. This nocturnal construction project happens without your awareness, guided by patterns of neural activity that replay during sleep. The plasticity of the sleeping brain means that each night offers an opportunity for cognitive improvement. Some animals outperform humans in cognitive tests designed by scientists. While humans excel at many cognitive tasks, certain animals demonstrate abilities that surpass our own in specific domains. Chimpanzees can memorize and recall sequences of numbers faster than most adult humans. Pigeons outperform people at certain probability-based learning tasks. Squirrels remember the locations of thousands of buried nuts with an accuracy that would challenge any human memory. These findings remind us that intelligence is not a single scale with humans at the top. Rather, different species have evolved cognitive specializations suited to their ecological niches. A bird that migrates thousands of kilometers possesses navigational abilities far beyond human intuition. A dolphin's capacity for echolocation-based perception operates at speeds our conscious minds cannot match. Each environment presents unique challenges that shape the evolution of mental abilities. These superior abilities in non-human animals reveal that evolution shapes minds in countless remarkable directions. A small region of your brain begins making decisions before you become aware. Neuroscience has revealed a surprising truth about the timing of conscious decision-making. Brain imaging studies show that activity in certain regions predicts your choices several seconds before you become aware of having decided. This suggests that deeper, unconscious processes prepare decisions before they surface in conscious awareness. The finding challenges our intuitive sense of free will and reveals the layered nature of the mind. The brain appears to generate options, weigh alternatives, and settle on responses through processes that operate below the threshold of awareness. Consciousness may function more as a reporter than an originator of decisions. This architecture allows for rapid responses while still permitting conscious reflection when time allows. This discovery does not diminish the importance of conscious reflection, but it does reveal that what we experience as the moment of decision is often the culmination of hidden neural computations that began much earlier. Intelligence grows stronger when the brain learns to filter out irrelevant information. One mark of an intelligent mind is not merely the ability to absorb information, but the capacity to ignore what does not matter. The brain is constantly bombarded by sensory signals, and processing all of them would overwhelm any cognitive system. Intelligence develops partly through the refinement of filters that suppress distractions and highlight relevant patterns. Experts in any field demonstrate this by noticing crucial details that novices miss entirely. The filtering process involves neural mechanisms that inhibit certain signals while amplifying others. This selective attention allows the mind to focus its limited resources on what truly matters. The development of these filters requires extensive practice within specific domains. As these filters become more precise through experience, problem-solving becomes faster and more efficient. The intelligence we admire in experts often reflects not what they see, but what they have learned to disregard. Octopuses can solve puzzles they have never encountered before. The octopus presents one of the most fascinating cases of intelligence in the animal kingdom. Despite having evolved along a completely separate branch from vertebrates, octopuses demonstrate remarkable problem-solving abilities. They can open jars from the inside, navigate complex mazes, and escape from enclosures through tiny openings. Most impressively, they solve novel puzzles without prior training, suggesting genuine flexible reasoning rather than simple learned responses. Their nervous system is distributed throughout their body, with arms capable of semi-independent action. This distributed architecture means that octopus intelligence operates very differently from our own. This raises profound questions about the nature of mind and how intelligence can emerge through radically different neural architectures. The octopus reminds us that complex cognition is not limited to animals with large brains or familiar body plans. Intelligence, it seems, can evolve in forms we are only beginning to understand. Creative ideas emerge when unrelated brain networks accidentally connect. Creativity often arises from unexpected combinations of thoughts that were previously kept separate. The brain organizes knowledge into specialized networks that rarely communicate directly. However, during certain mental states, particularly during relaxation, daydreaming, or the transitions into sleep, these boundaries become more permeable. Ideas from one domain can suddenly link with concepts from another, producing novel combinations that feel like flashes of insight. This accidental connection of distant neural networks explains why creative breakthroughs often occur when we are not actively trying to solve problems. The shower, the walk, the quiet moment before sleep become fertile ground for innovation. Artists and scientists alike often report their best ideas arriving when the mind was at rest. The neural architecture that normally keeps thoughts organized occasionally produces beautiful accidents when its barriers temporarily dissolve. Creativity, in this view, is partly a matter of allowing the mind to wander across its own internal landscape. Trees communicate through chemical signals that resemble primitive thought. Forests are far more interconnected than they appear, with trees exchanging information through chemical signals both above and below ground. When a tree is attacked by insects, it can release airborne compounds that warn neighboring trees to prepare their defenses. Underground fungal networks connect root systems, allowing trees to share nutrients and even transfer chemical messages across considerable distances. Some researchers describe these networks as a kind of forest-wide communication system. While trees lack neurons and cannot think in any human sense, their chemical signaling demonstrates a form of responsiveness to the environment that blurs the boundaries of cognition. The forest operates as a collective system where individual trees respond to information flowing through the network. Mother trees can even preferentially share resources with their own offspring through these underground channels. This botanical communication challenges us to consider how intelligence-like behaviors can emerge even without brains. The brain simulates possible futures faster than you can blink. One of the most remarkable abilities of the human brain is its capacity to simulate potential futures before committing to action. In fractions of a second, the brain can generate and evaluate multiple scenarios, predicting consequences and comparing outcomes. This internal simulation happens so quickly that we experience it only as a gut feeling or intuition. The prefrontal cortex plays a central role in this process, working with memory systems to construct plausible models of what might happen next. The hippocampus contributes by providing the raw material of past experiences that simulations draw upon. This predictive machinery evolved because anticipating dangers and opportunities confers enormous survival advantages. By the time you consciously consider a decision, your brain has already run countless simulations in the background. This capacity for rapid mental time travel distinguishes human cognition and allows us to plan far into the future based on imagined scenarios. Human thought depends on neurons that fire in beautifully imprecise patterns. The brain is not a digital computer operating with perfect precision. Instead, neurons fire with considerable variability, and this imprecision turns out to be essential for flexible thinking. If neurons operated with mechanical exactness, the brain would be rigid and unable to adapt. The noise in neural firing allows the system to explore multiple possibilities simultaneously, escaping from stuck patterns and finding novel solutions. This controlled randomness helps explain why creativity and insight feel like discoveries rather than calculations. The variability operates within constraints that keep thinking coherent while permitting exploration. The brain's imprecision is not a flaw but a feature, enabling the cognitive flexibility that defines human intelligence. Studies show that too much precision can actually impair problem-solving by trapping the mind in fixed patterns. The beautiful messiness of neural activity provides the mental freedom that underlies our most creative moments. Bees can recognize individual human faces with remarkable accuracy. Despite having brains containing fewer than 1 million neurons, honeybees can learn to distinguish between different human faces and remember them for extended periods. Researchers have trained bees to associate specific faces with sugar rewards, and the insects reliably identify the correct face even when presented with new images at different angles. This ability likely evolved for recognizing individual flowers rather than people, but it demonstrates sophisticated visual processing capabilities in a tiny brain. The bee's achievement challenges assumptions about the neural requirements for facial recognition. What takes millions of neurons in primates can apparently be accomplished with far less biological hardware. The finding demonstrates that complex cognition can emerge from surprisingly simple neural circuits. The bee's visual system extracts patterns and relationships that allow for individual identification despite limited resources. This finding suggests that the algorithms underlying face recognition may be simpler and more universal than previously imagined. Your brain constructs predictions about the world before sensory information arrives. The brain does not passively receive information from the senses, but actively predicts what it expects to perceive. Before visual signals even reach the cortex, the brain has already generated expectations about what should appear. When predictions match incoming data, processing is efficient and effortless. When mismatches occur, attention sharpens and learning accelerates. This predictive architecture explains why familiar environments feel effortless to navigate while novel ones demand concentration. The brain constantly generates a model of the world and updates it when reality contradicts expectations. This model combines past experiences with current context to anticipate what comes next. Perception is thus a continuous dialogue between prediction and sensation. This framework helps explain illusions, where the brain's predictions override actual sensory input. The predictive brain saves energy and enables rapid responses by preparing for what is most likely to happen next. Dolphins invent unique whistles to represent new concepts they encounter. Dolphins possess one of the most sophisticated communication systems in the animal kingdom. Each dolphin develops a signature whistle that functions like a name, allowing individuals to call to one another across the ocean's murky depths. Beyond these signatures, dolphins can create new whistles to represent objects, actions, and concepts they learn. In research settings, dolphins have invented novel sounds to refer to specific toys or activities. They remember these invented symbols and use them consistently over time. This capacity for symbolic representation approaches the fundamental building blocks of language. Dolphins appear to understand that arbitrary sounds can stand for things in the world, a cognitive leap that few animals demonstrate. Their communication combines learned vocalizations with contextual flexibility, suggesting an underlying intelligence that continues to surprise researchers. The dolphins' whistle vocabulary hints at cognitive capacities we have only begun to explore. Misunderstanding something first can accelerate deep learning. Learning is not always most efficient when information is presented clearly from the start. Research shows that initial confusion, when followed by resolution, can produce deeper understanding than straightforward instruction. When learners struggle with contradictory or confusing information, they engage more actively with the material, forming stronger neural connections. The effort to resolve confusion creates multiple pathways to understanding rather than a single memorized route. This productive struggle marks experiences as important, triggering memory consolidation processes that simple exposure does not. The initial discomfort of not understanding seems to prime the brain for more robust learning. Educational approaches that allow for appropriate confusion before clarification often produce better long-term retention. The principle suggests that intellectual comfort is not always optimal for growth, and that wrestling with difficulty strengthens the foundations of knowledge. Ravens can mentally plan several moves ahead without prior practice. Ravens demonstrate planning abilities that rival those of great apes in certain experimental settings. In studies, ravens have learned to select a tool that can be used to obtain food, even when the reward is not immediately available. They will pass up immediate treats in favor of tools that unlock better rewards later. This delayed gratification demonstrates impulse control comparable to that seen in young children. This suggests the capacity to imagine future scenarios and act in accordance with anticipated outcomes. Such planning requires the mental manipulation of possibilities without acting on them, a form of internal simulation that is rare in the animal kingdom. Ravens appear to understand not just immediate cause and effect, but chains of causation that extend across time. This cognitive sophistication in a bird challenges assumptions that such abilities require primate-like brains. The raven's mind may navigate time in ways more similar to our own than we imagined. Human creativity may arise from neural noise that other species suppress. The variability in human neural firing that we discussed earlier may be particularly pronounced in our species compared to other animals. Some researchers hypothesize that human brains evolved to tolerate or even embrace higher levels of neural noise than other primates. This increased variability would explain our exceptional capacity for creative and divergent thinking. While other species benefit from more predictable neural responses, humans gain flexibility from systems that wander more freely. The neural circuits that generate this variability may overlap with those involved in imagination and abstract thought. The trade-off is that our thinking can be scattered and distractible, but the benefit is an enhanced ability to generate novel ideas. Evolution may have selected for brains that sacrifice some efficiency for greater creative potential. This neural noise could be the biological foundation of the imagination that distinguishes human cognition from that of our closest relatives. Elephants comfort distressed companions with behaviors resembling empathy. Elephants demonstrate emotional sensitivity that approaches what we might call empathy in humans. When a member of the herd shows signs of distress, other elephants gather around, touching the upset individual with their trunks and making soothing vocalizations. They will stay with injured companions, sometimes attempting to lift them or bring them food and water. Elephants have been observed standing vigil over dead members of their group and returning to the bones of deceased relatives years later. These rituals suggest an emotional understanding of death that few other animals display. These behaviors suggest an emotional understanding of others' states that goes beyond simple learned responses. The elephant brain contains a large and complex limbic system associated with emotion processing. Their social behavior reveals minds that register not just their own feelings, but those of companions as well. The emotional intelligence of elephants challenges the boundary between human and animal consciousness. Artificial intelligence reveals hidden patterns that humans never imagined. Machine learning systems can detect regularities in data that remain invisible to human perception. By analyzing vast data sets, artificial intelligence finds correlations, structures, and patterns that no human could identify unaided. Medical imaging systems recognize early signs of disease that trained specialists miss. Financial algorithms detect fraud through subtle transaction patterns. Language models reveal hidden structures in how humans communicate. These systems process information at scales that exceed human cognitive capacity by many orders of magnitude. These discoveries expand human knowledge by accessing a level of pattern recognition beyond our cognitive limits. The algorithms do not understand what they find in any conscious sense, yet they extend human intelligence into previously unreachable domains. Artificial intelligence thus functions as a cognitive amplifier, revealing aspects of reality that would otherwise remain hidden. The collaboration between human and machine intelligence is opening new frontiers of discovery. Parrots understand abstract rules that challenge even young children. Parrots, particularly African gray parrots, demonstrate abstract reasoning abilities that rival or exceed those of young children in certain tasks. They can learn concepts like same and different, bigger and smaller, and apply these rules to objects they have never seen before. The famous parrot Alex learned to identify colors, shapes, and quantities, and could respond correctly to novel questions about objects presented for the first time. He could even combine learned concepts to answer questions requiring multiple abstractions. This capacity for abstraction requires understanding the relationship between things rather than just recognizing individual items. Such cognition demands the manipulation of mental categories that transcend specific instances. The parrot achieves this with a brain structured very differently from mammals, suggesting that abstract reasoning can emerge through multiple evolutionary pathways. These intelligent birds remind us that sophisticated cognition appears in unexpected places throughout the animal kingdom. Memories are partially rewritten each time you recall them. The act of remembering is not like retrieving a file from a computer. Each time you access a memory, you reconstruct it from scattered neural traces, and the reconstruction process can alter the memory itself. Details may shift, emotions may intensify or fade, and new information can become integrated with old recollections. This malleability serves adaptive purposes, allowing memories to be updated with current knowledge and present priorities. However, it also means that our most cherished memories are not perfect records, but creative reconstructions shaped by every subsequent recall. The memories that define our sense of self are thus works of ongoing revision rather than fixed records. The brain prioritizes useful information over perfect accuracy, editing memories to maintain coherent narratives about the self and the world. This reconsolidation process explains why eyewitness testimony can be unreliable and why memories change over time. The mind is a storyteller, not a recording device. Squid neurons can edit their own genetic instructions in real time. Squid possess a remarkable ability that scientists are only beginning to understand. Their neurons can modify RNA, the messenger molecules that carry genetic instructions to protein-making machinery, in response to changing conditions. This editing happens on the fly, allowing the squid's nervous system to produce different versions of proteins depending on circumstances. The process enables rapid adaptation of neural function without changing the underlying DNA. Temperature, activity levels, and other factors can all trigger different editing patterns. Cold water, for instance, may prompt the production of proteins optimized for lower temperatures. This real-time genetic flexibility gives the squid nervous system an adaptive capacity that most organisms lack. The discovery has implications for understanding how intelligence can emerge through different biological mechanisms. The squid demonstrates that evolution has found multiple solutions to the challenge of creating flexible, responsive nervous systems. Listening to music can restructure thought patterns and enhance spatial reasoning. Music has a profound effect on cognitive function that extends far beyond emotional responses. Research has shown that exposure to certain types of music can temporarily enhance spatial reasoning abilities. The phenomenon may occur because musical processing engages brain regions that also handle spatial and mathematical thinking. Rhythmic patterns in music may help organize neural activity in ways that benefit other cognitive tasks. Music activates connections across widely distributed brain areas, fostering integration that supports complex cognition. Learning to play an instrument produces even stronger effects, as it requires coordinating multiple brain systems simultaneously. Musical training in childhood correlates with enhanced cognitive abilities that persist into adulthood. The brain appears to transfer skills developed through music to other domains of thinking. This connection between music and cognition suggests that our aesthetic experiences are deeply intertwined with our intellectual capacities. Certain plants anticipate the dawn and adjust their chemistry before sunrise. Plants possess internal clocks that allow them to anticipate daily cycles rather than merely respond to them. Before the sun rises, many plants begin adjusting their chemistry, opening stomata, activating photosynthesis machinery, and preparing for the day's light. This anticipation is not driven by sensing light, but by internal circadian rhythms that evolved to match environmental patterns. The molecular machinery underlying these rhythms operates continuously, tracking time even in constant darkness. The ability to prepare in advance provides a competitive advantage over organisms that wait for conditions to change before responding. Some plants can even learn to anticipate irregular events if they repeat with consistent timing. This forward-looking behavior, while fundamentally different from conscious anticipation, demonstrates that intelligence-like responsiveness exists throughout the living world. The quiet preparation of plants for dawn reflects a kind of biological wisdom that operates without thought. The brain creates entire imaginary worlds to evaluate ideas before you speak. Before you utter a sentence or commit to an action, your brain constructs elaborate mental simulations to test possibilities. These simulations include imagined conversations, visualized scenarios, and predicted outcomes. The brain essentially creates temporary virtual worlds where ideas can be evaluated without real-world consequences. This internal rehearsal allows you to refine thoughts before expressing them and to anticipate problems before they occur. This capacity underlies the human ability to consider consequences before acting. You can imagine telling someone news and simulate their reaction before deciding whether and how to speak. The mental workspace where these simulations occur involves coordinated activity across many brain regions. This internal theater of possibility is so seamless that we rarely notice the elaborate construction work happening beneath awareness. The ability to mentally preview the future before committing to it is one of the defining features of human intelligence. Crows understand the concept of zero as a meaningful numerical value. Zero is not simply the absence of quantity, but a genuine number with its own mathematical properties. This concept took human civilization millennia to develop, yet crows demonstrate an understanding of zero in experimental settings. When trained on numerical tasks, crows recognize that an empty set has a specific position in the number line, less than 1, but still a valid quantity. Their ability to represent nothingness as something puts them in remarkable cognitive company. Their neurons respond to zero differently than to simple absence of stimuli. This capacity suggests that crows can abstract quantity from specific objects and manipulate numerical concepts mentally. The crow accomplishes this with a brain structured very differently from ours, demonstrating that numerical intelligence can emerge through multiple evolutionary pathways. Understanding zero connects to broader capacities for abstract representation that are fundamental to advanced cognition. Ant colonies function as distributed minds, solving problems no single ant could grasp. An individual ant possesses limited cognitive capacity, yet ant colonies accomplish feats of engineering, logistics, and decision-making that seem to require intelligence. The colony operates as a distributed system where complex behavior emerges from countless simple interactions. No single ant understands the colony's overall strategy, yet the collective achieves sophisticated outcomes. Colonies optimize foraging routes, regulate temperature, allocate workers efficiently, and coordinate defense against threats. The colony computes solutions through the aggregated behavior of thousands of individuals following simple rules. This collective intelligence resembles the way neurons in a brain produce thoughts that no single neuron could generate. The emergence of intelligence from simple interacting components is a theme that runs through both biological and artificial systems. The ant colony demonstrates that mind-like processes can arise without centralized control. Swarm intelligence offers a different model of cognition than the individual minds we usually consider. Storytelling may have strengthened human intelligence across generations. Humans are unique in their compulsion to tell and listen to stories. This narrative instinct may have played a crucial role in the evolution of human intelligence. Stories allow knowledge to be transmitted across generations without genetic change. A tale about a dangerous predator or a successful hunting strategy can pass survival-relevant information from grandparent to grandchild. Stories also strengthen social bonds and establish shared understanding within groups. The campfire tales of our ancestors may have functioned as an early form of education. The ability to follow and remember stories requires memory, imagination, and the capacity to simulate others' perspectives. These cognitive demands may have created selective pressure for larger, more flexible brains. Cultures with richer storytelling traditions could accumulate knowledge faster than those without. Narrative may be not just a product of human intelligence, but one of its primary architects. Whales communicate through layered signals that function like complex languages. Whale songs are among the most elaborate acoustic displays in the animal kingdom. Humpback whales produce sequences of sounds organized into phrases, themes, and songs that can last for hours. These songs evolve over time, with new elements spreading through populations like cultural trends. Different whale populations develop distinct dialects, suggesting that their communication is learned and culturally transmitted. The structure of whale songs shows hierarchical organization reminiscent of human language, though their meaning remains mysterious. Individual singers introduce variations that may spread if other whales adopt them. Blue whales produce calls so low in frequency that they can travel thousands of kilometers through the ocean. This acoustic network allows whales to maintain social connections across vast distances. The complexity of whale communication hints at cognitive capacities that we are only beginning to measure and may never fully understand. The brain extracts hidden patterns without your conscious awareness. Much of learning happens beneath the threshold of consciousness. The brain detects regularities in the environment that you never consciously notice. Sequences, associations, and patterns become encoded in neural networks without any deliberate effort to memorize them. This implicit learning explains how children acquire the grammatical rules of language without explicit instruction. You know that certain word orders sound wrong even if you cannot state the rule that makes them incorrect. Knowledge is there, but it was never consciously acquired. The brain's pattern detection machinery operates continuously, absorbing statistical regularities from experience. This unconscious learning shapes expectations, preferences, and intuitions in ways that consciousness never observes. Skills learned implicitly can be difficult to explain verbally because they were never represented consciously. The brain maintains a vast repository of knowledge assembled through this silent, automatic pattern extraction. Certain frogs navigate mazes using senses that scientists cannot yet explain. Some species of frogs demonstrate navigational abilities that remain unexplained by any known sensory mechanism. These amphibians return to specific breeding sites with remarkable accuracy, even when displaced to unfamiliar locations. Experiments ruling out vision, smell, and hearing still leave frogs able to orient correctly. The mystery deepens when researchers eliminate every sensory channel they can identify, yet the frogs still find their way. Some researchers speculate that these frogs may detect Earth's magnetic field, chemical gradients, or other environmental cues that current instruments cannot measure. The puzzle highlights how much remains unknown about animal cognition and perception. Intelligence and navigation in the natural world may rely on senses entirely outside human experience. The unexplained abilities of these frogs remind us that our understanding of minds, including the sensory foundations they rest upon, remains incomplete. Nature may harbor cognitive mechanisms that science has yet to discover. Problem solving often improves when the mind is allowed to wander freely. Deliberately focusing on a problem is not always the most effective approach to solving it. Research shows that periods of mind wandering can facilitate insights that intensive concentration cannot achieve. When attention relaxes, the brain continues processing information in the background, exploring connections that focused thought overlooks. This incubation effect explains why solutions often arrive during showers, walks, or the moments before sleep. The unconscious mind works on problems that conscious effort has temporarily set aside. The wandering mind explores a broader space of possibilities than controlled thinking permits. Taking breaks from demanding problems may actually accelerate their solution. The key is maintaining enough engagement that the problem remains active in memory while allowing attention to drift. This balance between effort and relaxation appears optimal for creative problem solving. The seemingly unproductive moments of daydreaming may be among the most cognitively valuable. Termite mounds regulate temperature like self-tuning climate machines. Termite mounds are engineering marvels that maintain stable internal temperatures despite extreme fluctuations outside. The structure incorporates ventilation systems, thermal mass, and moisture regulation that adjust automatically to changing conditions. Termites modify the mound's architecture over time, opening or closing ventilation channels to maintain optimal conditions. The mound's design exploits natural convection and the thermal properties of different building materials. No individual termite understands the overall design, yet the colony collectively creates and maintains sophisticated climate control. The mound breathes, drawing in cool air and expelling warm air through convection currents. This biological architecture has inspired human engineers designing energy-efficient buildings. The termite mound demonstrates how collective intelligence can solve complex engineering problems without centralized planning. The quiet wisdom of the colony produces structures that rival human design in their functional elegance. Human babies show statistical reasoning before they understand language. Infants possess remarkable cognitive abilities that emerge long before they can speak. Studies have shown that babies as young as a few months old are sensitive to statistical patterns in the world around them. They detect regularities in sequences of sounds, images, and events, using these patterns to form expectations about what should happen next. When events violate these expectations, babies show surprise, indicating that they have already built mental models of how the world works. The violations draw attention and trigger learning about what went wrong in the prediction. This statistical learning ability underlies language acquisition, as babies extract the sound patterns of their native tongue from the stream of speech they hear. The infant brain is a powerful pattern detection system from the very beginning of life. Cognitive sophistication exists in babies long before they can demonstrate it through language or action. Jellyfish exhibit behaviors resembling learning despite having no brain. Jellyfish lack anything resembling a central nervous system, yet they display behaviors that suggest a primitive form of learning. Some species adjust their swimming patterns in response to repeated stimuli, a basic form of habituation. Others show more complex responses, appearing to anticipate regular environmental events. One species of box jellyfish can learn to avoid obstacles after just a few collisions, adjusting its swimming behavior based on visual information. The jellyfish accomplishes this using a distributed network of neurons that has no central processing point. This learning occurs through a distributed network of neurons with no central processing hub. The jellyfish challenges our assumptions about the neural requirements for adaptive behavior. Intelligence like responsiveness may emerge from much simpler systems than we typically imagine. The boundaries between mere reaction and genuine cognition become blurred when organisms without brains demonstrate learning. The brain compresses vast sensory information into efficient neural codes. Every moment, your senses collect far more information than the brain could possibly process in detail. The solution is compression, reducing the flood of data to essential patterns that capture what matters while discarding redundancy. The visual system compresses the millions of signals from the retina into representations that emphasize edges, motion, and meaningful features. Hearing, touch, and smell undergo similar compression. This efficient coding strategy operates at every level of neural processing, from early sensory areas to high-level cognition. This efficient coding allows the brain to work with manageable representations of an overwhelmingly complex world. The compression is not random, but optimized through evolution and experience to preserve information relevant to survival. Like efficient video compression, the brain captures the essence while discarding the expendable. This remarkable engineering allows a biological system with limited resources to make sense of infinitely complex environments. Wolves coordinate group hunts through subtle body movements that carry meaning. Wolf packs execute coordinated hunts that require each member to anticipate others' actions. This coordination relies on a rich vocabulary of body language that wolves learn through social experience. The angle of ears, position of tail, direction of gaze, and subtle shifts in posture all carry information about intentions and plans. Years of living together refine the wolves' ability to read one another's signals instantly. Wolves read each other constantly during a hunt, adjusting their positions based on what they perceive in companions' movements. This nonverbal communication enables the pack to function as a coordinated unit without vocal signals that would alert prey. The sophistication of wolf communication reflects deep social intelligence forged by millions of years of cooperative hunting. Each wolf maintains a mental model of others' positions, intentions, and likely actions. The pack hunt demonstrates collective cognition emerging from individual minds attuned to one another. Human foresight evolved from brain regions originally designed for social reasoning. The capacity to imagine and plan for the future may have evolved by repurposing neural circuits that originally served social functions. The same brain regions that allow us to simulate others' thoughts also enable us to project ourselves into imaginary future scenarios. Thinking about another person's perspective and thinking about your own future self both require constructing mental models beyond the present moment. The neural overlap between imagining others' minds and imagining future states suggests a deep evolutionary connection. This connection explains why damage to social reasoning areas of the brain often impairs future planning as well. Evolution appears to have expanded social cognition into temporal cognition. The ability to consider what others might think became the ability to consider what you might experience tomorrow or next year. Our remarkable capacity for foresight may thus be a cognitive gift that emerged from the pressures of social living. Coral reefs display collective responses that resemble group decision-making. Coral reefs are colonies of tiny polyps that coordinate their behavior in ways that suggest collective information processing. When conditions change, responses ripple through the reef as chemical signals pass between polyps. Decisions about when to spawn, how to allocate resources, or when to expel symbiotic algae involve coordination across thousands of individuals. The timing of these collective responses can determine whether the reef survives environmental stress. The reef functions as a superorganism where individual polyps contribute to collective outcomes without understanding the overall strategy. This distributed intelligence allows the reef to respond adaptively to its environment. The patterns of coordination that emerge resemble the swarm intelligence seen in insects and the neural coordination that produces thought. Coral reefs remind us that collective cognition takes many forms across the living world. The reef thinks in its own slow, distributed way. Your brain simulates other minds by borrowing patterns from your own experience. Understanding what others think and feel requires constructing internal models of their mental states. The brain accomplishes this remarkable feat by adapting patterns from your own experience. When you try to understand someone else's perspective, you essentially simulate them using cognitive machinery designed for understanding yourself. The neural circuits that process your own emotions are activated when you imagine others' feelings. This simulation is never perfect because others' minds differ from your own, but it provides a useful approximation. The mirror neuron system and regions associated with self-reflection both contribute to understanding others. Empathy draws on memory of your own emotional experiences to imagine what another person feels. This bootstrapping approach to understanding other minds is efficient, but can lead to projection and misunderstanding. The social intelligence that enables human cooperation rests on this creative repurposing of self-knowledge to model others. Some monkeys recognize unfair treatment and protest against inequality. Capuchin monkeys demonstrate a sense of fairness that influences their behavior in exchange tasks. When trained to trade tokens for food rewards, monkeys willingly participate as long as rewards are equal. However, if one monkey receives a grape, while a neighbor receives only a cucumber for the same task, the monkey receiving the lesser reward often refuses to continue or throws away the cucumber. The response is immediate and emotional, suggesting genuine indignation rather than calculated strategy. This response indicates that monkeys evaluate not just absolute rewards, but relative ones, comparing what they receive to what others get. Such inequity aversion requires monitoring others' outcomes and comparing them to one's own, a form of social cognition with clear implications for cooperation. The monkey's protest against unfairness suggests that some rudiments of moral behavior may have evolved before humanity. Fairness sensitivity appears to be part of our primate heritage. Artificial systems can uncover mathematical truths that eluded human researchers. Mathematics is typically seen as a uniquely human endeavor, yet artificial intelligence has begun contributing genuine discoveries to the field. Machine learning systems have proposed new conjectures, identified patterns in existing data, and even suggested proofs that human mathematicians then verified. The systems explore mathematical space at speeds no human could match, testing possibilities that would take centuries to examine manually. These contributions extend human mathematical intuition into spaces too vast or complex for unaided exploration. The systems achieve this not through understanding in any conscious sense, but through pattern recognition operating on symbolic structures. Whether such discoveries should be called intelligence remains debated, but their practical value is clear. Artificial systems serve as cognitive tools that extend human reach into mathematical reality. The collaboration between human creativity and machine pattern finding opens new territory in the landscape of knowledge. Mathematics may increasingly become a partnership between biological and artificial minds. Specialized brain cells guide electrical signals like whispered secrets between neurons. Neurons are not the only cells that matter in the thinking brain. Glial cells, once thought to be mere support structures, play active roles in cognitive function. Some types of glial cells wrap around neural connections and regulate the speed plus strength of electrical signals. This wrapping functions like insulation on electrical wires, allowing signals to travel faster and more reliably. Others clean up chemical messengers after neurons fire, controlling how long signals persist. Astrocytes extend their branches to monitor and influence thousands of synapses simultaneously. This regulatory network shapes the flow of information through the brain in ways that profoundly affect thinking. The partnership between neurons and glia is essential for healthy cognition. Damage to glial cells can produce cognitive impairments as severe as neuronal damage. The brain's intelligence emerges not from neurons alone, but from the coordinated activity of multiple cell types working together. Certain fish recognize themselves in mirrors and respond to their reflection. The mirror test has long been used to assess self-awareness in animals. For decades, only great apes, dolphins, elephants, and a few other species passed this test, which involves recognizing that a mark on one's body is visible in a mirror. Recently, researchers discovered that certain fish, particularly cleaner wrasses, appear to pass the test as well. These fish attempt to remove marks from their bodies after viewing themselves in mirrors. They scrape against surfaces in precisely the spot where the mark appears. The finding is controversial because fish brains differ so dramatically from mammalian brains. If fish possess some form of self-recognition, it would suggest that self-awareness evolved independently multiple times, or that even simple brains can support rudimentary self-models. The fish mirror test challenges our understanding of what neural complexity is required for reflective awareness. The mind naturally invents narratives even when random events have no meaning. Humans have a powerful tendency to perceive patterns and construct explanations, even when events are genuinely random. This narrative instinct leads us to see faces in clouds, attribute intentions to natural events, and create stories that connect unrelated occurrences. The brain evolved in an environment where detecting meaningful patterns provided survival advantages. A rustling in the bushes might indicate a predator, and the cost of a false alarm was far less than missing a real threat. The system errs on the side of finding patterns rather than missing them, even at the cost of false positives. This bias toward pattern finding persists even when it produces superstition or conspiracy thinking. The human mind is a story-generating engine that works constantly to make sense of experience. The downside of this capacity is susceptibility to illusions and unfounded beliefs. Understanding this tendency is essential for clear thinking in a world full of random noise. Bats share new feeding strategies through social learning across colonies. Bats are highly social animals that learn from one another in ways that accelerate the spread of useful behaviors. When one bat discovers a new food source or more efficient foraging technique, the knowledge can spread through social observation. Young bats learn from their mothers where to hunt and what to eat. Adults observe the success of colony members and adjust their own strategies accordingly. The colony functions as a network where discoveries propagate through social connections. Some bat species form stable social groups where cultural traditions persist across generations. This social learning allows populations to adapt to changing conditions faster than genetic evolution alone would permit. The bat colony functions as a distributed knowledge system where individual discoveries become shared resources. Social intelligence in bats reminds us that learning from others is a powerful form of cognition found throughout the animal kingdom. Curiosity intensifies when the brain encounters events it cannot predict. The brain is fundamentally a prediction machine, and when its expectations are violated, attention sharpens and curiosity increases. This response to prediction error drives learning by focusing cognitive resources on the unexpected. Novel or surprising events trigger release of dopamine, which enhances memory formation and motivates further exploration. The surprise signal tells the brain that its model of the world needs updating in this particular area. Curiosity is thus not merely a personality trait, but a functional response to information gaps. The brain wants to close these gaps to improve its predictive models. This drive explains why puzzles, mysteries, and open questions are so engaging. The curiosity response ensures that the cognitive system continually updates itself to better match reality. When the world surprises us, the brain treats that moment as an opportunity for growth. Curiosity converts prediction failures into learning opportunities. Slime molds solve mazes using memory stored in their shifting physical shape. Slime molds are single-celled organisms that demonstrate problem-solving abilities without anything resembling a nervous system. When placed in a maze with food at both ends, a slime mold will explore the space and eventually form a direct path connecting the food sources. This efficient route emerges through a process of growth and pruning that resembles optimization. The organism extends tendrils in all directions, then retracts from unproductive paths while reinforcing successful ones. More remarkably, the slime mold retains a memory of where it has been through the physical trail it leaves behind. Its shape itself stores information about past exploration. This distributed, embodied memory allows the organism to avoid revisiting dead ends. The slime mold demonstrates that intelligent behavior can emerge from systems far simpler than brains. Cognition, in its broadest sense, may not require neurons at all. The brain constructs internal maps of space through rhythmic neural activity. Discoveries about how the brain represents space have revolutionized neuroscience. Specialized cells in the hippocampus and related regions encode location through their firing patterns. Place cells activate when you occupy specific locations. Grid cells fire in regular spatial patterns that tile the environment like invisible coordinate systems. Head direction cells track orientation. The discovery of these cells earned a Nobel Prize and transformed our understanding of spatial cognition. Together, these populations create internal maps that allow navigation without reliance on external cues. The rhythmic firing of these cells produces oscillations that organize spatial information. This biological GPS operates continuously, updating position estimates as you move. The spatial mapping system that evolution created rivals anything human engineers have designed. Your brain carries a map of every place you have ever been, ready to guide you through the world. Large predators teach hunting skills to their young through guided practice. Many predatory mammals transmit hunting knowledge across generations through explicit teaching behaviors. Mother cheetahs bring live prey to their cubs and allow them to practice pursuit and capture in controlled conditions. Lionesses coordinate to create learning opportunities for young hunters. Orcas demonstrate hunting techniques to their calves, sometimes spending extended periods on training exercises. These extended teaching sessions may continue for months or even years until the young master the necessary skills. This teaching involves more than simple demonstration. Adults actively modify their behavior to facilitate learning. They provide scaffolding, adjusting difficulty to match the young learner's developing abilities. Such teaching requires understanding what the juvenile does not yet know. These predators demonstrate pedagogical intelligence, the capacity to transmit knowledge intentionally. The tradition of skilled hunting passes from generation to generation through this patient instruction. Language may have first emerged when ancestors played with symbols for enjoyment. The origins of human language remain mysterious, but some researchers propose that it began as play rather than practical communication. Early humans might have experimented with sounds and symbols for the pure pleasure of combination and variation. This playful experimentation with language-like behavior could have preceded functional communication. The joy of wordplay, puns, and verbal games may reflect this ancient playful foundation. Play involves the safe exploration of possibilities without immediate consequences, exactly the conditions that might foster symbolic innovation. Games with sounds could have gradually accumulated into structured systems that later served communicative purposes. The hypothesis suggests that the creativity underlying language emerged before its utility was established. If true, human linguistic capacity may owe as much to the joy of play as to the demands of survival. The deepest roots of our species' most distinctive ability might lie in our ancestors' playful minds. Some spiders plan multi-step hunting routes before making their move. Jumping spiders display planning abilities that seem far beyond what their tiny brains should permit. Before attacking prey, some species survey the scene, identify a route that will lead them to an ambush position, and then execute a complex sequence of movements out of sight of the target. This behavior requires maintaining a mental representation of the goal while executing intermediate steps that do not immediately bring them closer. The spider plots a course that may initially lead away from the prey before circling around to attack from an advantageous angle. The spider must resist direct approaches in favor of indirect routes that provide tactical advantage. Such planning implies some form of perspective memory and goal maintenance in a creature whose brain is smaller than a pinhead. The jumping spider challenges our assumptions about the neural requirements for complex cognition. Sophisticated strategies can emerge from remarkably compact biological systems. The visual system detects motion before it identifies what is moving. When something moves in your peripheral vision, your brain detects the motion almost instantly, well before it knows what the moving object actually is. This priority makes evolutionary sense because motion often signals danger or opportunity that demands immediate response. A predator's approach or prey's escape appears first as motion before detailed form becomes available. The visual system has dedicated pathways optimized for speed rather than detail, detecting whether and where motion occurs before slower pathways analyze shape, color, and identity. This is why a sudden movement catches your attention even before you can say what moved. The motion detection system connects directly to brain regions that trigger orienting responses and prepare the body for action. Only after this rapid response does the slower identification process reveal what captured your attention. Your visual system prioritizes survival-relevant information over complete analysis. Apes create tools by reasoning about invisible physical forces. Great apes demonstrate understanding of physics that goes beyond simple cause and effect. In experimental settings, chimpanzees and orangutans solve problems that require reasoning about forces they cannot see, such as gravity, weight distribution, or leverage. They select appropriate tools based on inferred physical properties rather than trial and error alone. An ape choosing between tools considers properties that have no visible manifestation but determine functional outcomes. This capacity suggests mental simulation of physical interactions similar to what human engineers employ. The ape evaluates options by imagining how different tools might interact with the problem, a form of internal modeling that is cognitively sophisticated. Understanding invisible forces requires abstract representation of physical principles that transcend immediate perception. This physics intuition demonstrates that ape cognition operates with conceptual models of how the world works. The tool-making great ape is also a physicist in miniature. Sudden insight often occurs when the brain enters a flexible transitional state. Breakthroughs and moments of insight tend to arrive not during intense concentration, but during relaxed transitional states. Research using brain imaging shows that insight solutions are preceded by shifts in neural activity toward more flexible, exploratory states. Alpha waves, associated with relaxed alertness, increase just before eureka moments. The brain appears to loosen its usual constraints, allowing remote associations to form. This loosening permits neural pathways that are normally inhibited to become temporarily active. This flexible state permits connections that focused thinking would suppress. The architecture of insight involves first encountering an impasse, then relaxing control, and finally experiencing the sudden arrival of a solution. These cognitive transitions happen outside conscious awareness, giving insights their characteristic feeling of appearing from nowhere. Understanding these neural dynamics could help us cultivate conditions that favor creative breakthroughs. Small-brained birds perform logic tasks once thought to require a cortex. The mammalian cortex has long been considered essential for complex cognition, yet birds achieve sophisticated mental feats with brain structures organized very differently. Corvids and parrots perform causal reasoning, tool use, and abstract logic tasks that rival or exceed what monkeys accomplish. Their brains lack the layered cortical architecture that was thought essential, yet functionally equivalent circuits have evolved through different means. The bird brain achieves similar computational outcomes using different neural organization. This convergent evolution demonstrates that there are multiple neural paths to intelligence. The bird brain packs neuron density that produces computational power despite smaller overall size. These findings challenge assumptions about which brain structures are necessary for sophisticated thought. Intelligence may emerge from the patterns of information processing rather than from specific anatomical arrangements. The clever bird proves that nature finds many solutions to the challenge of building a thinking mind. Coral polyps share nutrients through patterns resembling resource planning. Individual coral polyps are connected to their neighbors through living tissue, allowing them to share nutrients across the colony. When portions of the reef experience food shortage, resources flow from well-fed areas to struggling ones. This redistribution resembles the resource allocation decisions that human organizations must make. Healthy sections of the colony effectively subsidize areas under stress, maintaining the whole at the expense of local surplus. The coral colony lacks any central control, yet it achieves efficient distribution through local interactions. Chemical signals and nutrient gradients guide the flow without any polyp understanding the overall pattern. This collective resource management allows the reef to survive conditions that would kill isolated individuals. The coral demonstrates that intelligent-seeming outcomes can emerge from simple distributed processes. The reef manages its resources through a form of collective wisdom that no single polyp possesses. Human genius often emerges from combining ideas that seem completely unrelated. The most creative breakthroughs frequently occur when thinkers connect concepts from distant domains that others keep separate. Darwin combined observations from animal breeding with natural history to conceive natural selection. Einstein connected thoughts about trains and light beams to develop relativity. These combinations seem obvious only in retrospect. At the time, the linked domains appeared unrelated. The insight lies precisely in seeing connections that others missed, bridging conceptual distances that seemed uncrossable. This capacity for distant association may be central to what we mean by genius. Creative minds maintain diverse knowledge bases and remain alert for unexpected connections. The social conditions that expose people to varied ideas foster innovation. Specialization produces expertise, but can limit the raw material for creative combination. Genius often emerges not from depth in a single domain, but from bridges built between separate territories of knowledge. Sea lions learn grammatical rules that mirror principles of human language. Sea lions trained in language comprehension studies have demonstrated understanding of grammatical structure. They learn that word order matters, that the same words in different arrangements convey different meanings. A command to bring the ball to the ring produces different behavior than a request to bring the ring to the ball. The sea lion distinguishes these commands based on syntactic structure rather than individual words alone. This sensitivity to syntax requires representing relational information beyond simple associations. The sea lion does not merely respond to individual words, but parses strings of symbols according to grammatical rules. This capacity approaches a fundamental feature of human language, the construction of meaning through structured combination. The sea lion cannot produce language, but demonstrates receptive grammatical competence that exceeds what researchers initially thought possible. Marine mammals bridge some of the apparent gap between human linguistic abilities and animal communication. The brain becomes more efficient by pruning unnecessary neural connections. Developing brains produce far more synaptic connections than they will ultimately need. Through a process of pruning, unused or weakly used synapses are eliminated, while frequently activated ones are strengthened. This sculpting process refines neural circuits based on experience, tailoring the brain to its environment. Pruning accelerates during childhood and continues through adolescence, shaping cognitive abilities according to what the individual actually uses. Connections that are rarely activated are tagged for removal by cellular mechanisms that respond to activity patterns. The principle resembles a sculptor revealing a form by removing excess stone. The mature brain is more efficient precisely because it has shed connections that contributed only noise. This developmental process explains why early experiences can have lasting effects on cognitive architecture. The brain you carry was shaped by the pruning that matched circuits to experiences. Primates pass down cultural traditions that persist across many generations. Primate groups maintain traditions that are transmitted through social learning and persist long after their originators are gone. Different chimpanzee populations have distinct tool-using traditions, dietary preferences, and greeting behaviors that distinguish them culturally. A young chimpanzee learns its group's traditions by observing elders, just as human children absorb cultural practices. These traditions define group identity, with neighboring populations sometimes showing completely different approaches to the same problems. These traditions can persist for decades, outliving any individual carrier. The presence of cumulative culture, where innovations are added across generations, remains debated in non-human primates. However, the basic capacity for cultural transmission clearly exists. Primates demonstrate that culture is not uniquely human, but part of our broader primate heritage. The traditions that define human life have roots extending back millions of years into our evolutionary past. Confronting contradictory ideas can strengthen cognitive flexibility. When the brain encounters ideas that conflict with its existing beliefs, the resulting discomfort can trigger valuable cognitive restructuring. Rather than simply rejecting contradictory information, engaging with it thoughtfully can expand mental flexibility. People who regularly entertain opposing viewpoints develop stronger abilities to see problems from multiple angles. The discomfort itself signals that the brain is being challenged beyond its current structure. This cognitive flexibility correlates with better problem-solving and decision-making across domains. The discomfort of holding contradictory ideas simultaneously, though unpleasant, can be productive. Intellectual growth often requires tolerating the tension between conflicting perspectives while working toward resolution or synthesis. Environments that shelter us from disagreement may feel comfortable, but can limit cognitive development. Embracing the challenge of contradiction builds mental muscles that strengthen overall intelligence. Ants optimize foraging routes through real-time chemical communication networks. Ant colonies solve optimization problems that would challenge human planners, finding efficient routes between food sources and the nest. Individual ants deposit pheromone trails as they travel, with successful routes receiving more reinforcement than dead ends. The colony's route network emerges from countless local interactions without central coordination. No single ant understands the network topology, yet optimal solutions emerge from simple individual behaviors. Over time, shorter paths accumulate stronger pheromone concentrations, leading more ants to use them, which deposits more pheromone. This positive feedback loop constitutes a form of collective computation. The resulting solutions often approximate mathematical optima that engineers use algorithms to find. Computer scientists have developed ant colony optimization algorithms inspired by these processes. The humble ant colony demonstrates that distributed intelligence can solve complex problems through simple, local rules. Concepts exist in the brain as shifting clouds of neural activity. A concept like justice or love does not reside in any single neuron, but emerges from patterns of activity distributed across many brain regions. These patterns are not fixed but shift depending on context. Your representation of love when thinking about a partner differs from your representation when thinking about a child, yet both are recognizably the same concept. Concepts are thus more like clouds than objects. They have fuzzy boundaries that change as context shifts. This distributed, flexible representation allows concepts to adapt to novel situations. The brain creates meaning through dynamic patterns rather than static symbols. Understanding how concepts are represented neurally is one of the central challenges of cognitive science. The mind's contents are not things, but processes, not nouns, but verbs. Otters pass down tool use techniques through observation and practice. Sea otters use rocks as tools to crack open shellfish, and this behavior is culturally transmitted within populations. Young otters learn by watching their mothers and other adults, acquiring techniques specific to their group. Different populations have different preferred methods, suggesting cultural variation rather than purely genetic instruction. This tool use tradition persists across generations, with young otters requiring extended practice to master the skills. The transmission process involves observation, imitation, and prolonged learning rather than instinct alone. Otter tool use demonstrates that cultural learning of technical skills is not unique to primates. The floating otter cracking shells on its belly participates in a tradition that may be centuries old. Animal culture takes many forms across the remarkable diversity of thinking species. Imagination works by blending fragments of memory into patterns that never existed. The brain generates imaginative content by recombining elements stored in memory into novel configurations. You cannot imagine something truly unprecedented. Instead, imagination reassembles familiar components in unfamiliar ways. A unicorn draws on knowledge of horses and horns. A science fiction story recombines elements of technology and history. The hippocampus and related memory systems that reconstruct the past also construct the future and imagine the impossible. This constructive process explains why imagination and memory share neural machinery. The flexibility to recombine memory fragments is what makes creative thought possible. Every act of imagination is also an act of memory, drawing on the vast library of experience to create something that never was. The mind is endlessly creative because memory provides unlimited raw materials for recombination. Manta rays show signs of curiosity that hint at introspective awareness. Manta rays possess the largest brains of any fish, and their behavior suggests cognitive capacities beyond what most fish display. They approach divers with apparent curiosity, circling and examining unfamiliar objects without fear. Some mantas return to specific cleaning stations and may recognize individual cleaner fish. They have been observed apparently playing with objects for no obvious purpose. In mirror tests, mantas exhibit behaviors suggestive of self-recognition, though interpretation remains cautious. Their brain structure includes enlarged regions associated with learning and cognition in other species. The manta's gentle, curious nature challenges stereotypes of fish as simple creatures. These elegant rays may experience their underwater world with a richness we are only beginning to appreciate. Manta cognition represents another frontier in our exploration of animal minds. The brain rehearses complex skills internally even during complete stillness. Mental practice can improve performance of physical skills without any actual movement. When you imagine performing an action, motor planning regions of the brain activate in patterns similar to physical execution. This mental rehearsal strengthens the neural pathways involved in the skill. Athletes, musicians, and surgeons use visualization to refine their abilities. Research shows that combining mental and physical practice produces better results than physical practice alone. The brain apparently cannot fully distinguish between vividly imagined actions and real ones. This capacity allows skill development even when physical practice is impossible. Mental rehearsal demonstrates the profound connection between thought and action. The mind can improve the body through imagination alone, rehearsing excellence in the quiet theater of consciousness. Social insects store group memory in the coordinated movements of the colony. Individual bees or ants have limited memory capacity, but the colony as a whole retains information through the coordinated behavior of its members. The famous waggle dance of honeybees encodes the direction and distance of food sources, transmitting information across the colony. Ant trails persist even as individual ants come and go, maintaining route information in the physical environment. The pattern of task allocation at any moment reflects the colony's collective response to past events. This distributed memory system stores information in the relationships between individuals rather than in any single brain. The colony remembers through its structure and dynamics. Social insects demonstrate that memory need not be located inside heads. Group intelligence can create repositories of information that transcend individual cognition. Creative breakthrough often occurs when executive control temporarily relaxes. Prefrontal cortex provides executive control, keeping thoughts focused and inhibiting distracting ideas. This control is essential for completing tasks, but can impede creative thinking by suppressing the unexpected connections that lead to breakthroughs. Research suggests that creative insight often arrives when executive control relaxes, allowing freer flow of associations. This explains why creative ideas frequently emerge during drowsy states, walks, or activities that do not demand focus. The loosening of inhibition permits combinations that intense concentration would block. Some artists and scientists deliberately cultivate these relaxed states to foster creativity. The balance between control and freedom is delicate. Too much control stifles creativity, while too little produces chaos. Peak creative performance may require the ability to shift between modes, tightening and loosening executive control as needed. Certain crabs navigate using celestial cues, like miniature astronomers. Some shore crabs demonstrate the ability to orient using the position of the sun or stars. When displaced from their home territory, these crabs use celestial cues to determine direction, compensating for the sun's movement across the sky. This time-compensated navigation requires an internal clock that tracks time of day and a compass that reads celestial position. The cognitive requirements for this navigation seem to exceed what a small crustacean brain should handle, yet the behavior is well documented. These tiny astronomers of the tidelands connect to the broader phenomenon of animal navigation that continues to astonish researchers. The crab looking at the stars understands, in some functional sense, information that human navigators required centuries to formalize. Animal cognition repeatedly reveals capacities that challenge our assumptions. Unexpected events strengthen learning by marking experiences as important. The brain allocates memory resources preferentially to surprising events. When something unexpected happens, the brain releases neuromodulators that enhance plasticity in surrounding moments. This tagging mechanism ensures that significant events are remembered more vividly than routine ones. The response to surprise is thus not just emotional, but deeply functional, preparing the brain to update its models. Prediction error, the difference between what was expected and what occurred, drives learning across neural systems. This mechanism ensures the brain invests resources where updating is most needed. This is why novel experiences feel so memorable while routine days blur together. The brain economizes by storing detailed memories only when they carry new information. Surprise serves as a filter that selects experiences worthy of remembering. Every unexpected moment is an opportunity for cognitive growth. Self-organizing robots develop strategies that human designers never considered. Robotic systems designed with decentralized control can develop behaviors that surprise their creators. Rather than programming specific routines, engineers set up conditions for emergence, allowing the system to discover solutions through exploration. The resulting strategies often differ fundamentally from what human designers would have invented. Sometimes, these emergent solutions are more efficient than anything engineers could have designed directly. These emergent behaviors demonstrate that intelligence can arise from systems without explicit programming for intelligence. The robots learn through interaction with their environment, finding solutions fitted to real conditions rather than human preconceptions. This approach mirrors how biological intelligence evolved, through trial and error over vast timescales. Self-organizing artificial systems offer a window into how intelligence might emerge naturally. They blur the line between designed and discovered intelligence. Spatial knowledge is encoded through firing patterns that act as inner coordinates. The brain represents location through elegant neural coding systems. Grid cells in the entorhinal cortex fire in regular hexagonal patterns as you move through space, creating a coordinate system that maps the environment. Place cells in the hippocampus fire when you occupy specific locations. Together with head direction cells and boundary cells, these populations construct a comprehensive spatial representation. The discovery of these systems earned a Nobel Prize and revolutionized understanding of how brains represent space. The same neural architecture that creates spatial maps may support other forms of abstract cognitive mapping. These neural coordinates operate automatically, updating your position as you move without conscious effort. The spatial cognition system that guides your walk through the world is one of the brain's most sophisticated achievements. You carry detailed maps of every environment you have ever navigated, encoded in the firing of these specialized neurons. Primates use political strategies to manage alliances and social debts. Great apes and monkeys engage in surprisingly sophisticated political behavior. They form alliances, track who has helped whom, and remember debts and favors across extended periods. Coalition partners support each other in conflicts. Betrayals are remembered and can damage relationships for years. Individuals jockey for position within the hierarchy using strategies that resemble human politics. The most successful primates navigate these political landscapes with skill that rivals any diplomat. This social intelligence requires tracking not just your own relationships, but the relationships between others. Who is allied with whom, and how might those alliances shift? Primates manage these complex social networks through memory, observation, and strategic thinking. This political cognition may have been a primary driver in the evolution of primate intelligence. The skills needed to navigate primate society may have provided foundations for broader cognitive abilities. Intelligence grows when we engage with ideas just beyond our current understanding. Learning is most effective in the zone of proximal development, where challenges are neither too easy nor impossibly difficult. Tasks that are slightly beyond current ability stretch cognition without overwhelming it. This optimal challenge level activates learning mechanisms that encode and consolidate new skills. Material that is too easy produces boredom and little learning. Material that is too hard produces frustration and disengagement. Between these extremes lies a narrow band where growth happens most efficiently. The sweet spot lies just at the edge of current competence. Growth occurs when the mind is pulled gently forward. This principle applies across domains, from language acquisition to mathematical reasoning. Teachers and learners who understand this dynamic can calibrate challenges for maximum cognitive growth. Intelligence develops most efficiently through carefully graduated challenges. Parrots form concepts of sameness and difference, much like young children. Parrots can learn to identify whether two objects are the same or different, applying this judgment to novel objects they have never seen before. This capacity for relational reasoning goes beyond simple matching to require understanding an abstract relationship that applies across diverse instances. The concept of sameness is not tied to any particular feature, but captures a relationship that can hold between any pair of objects. This abstraction represents a sophisticated cognitive achievement that underlies many forms of reasoning. Parrots master this abstraction through training and can apply it flexibly once learned. Similar conceptual abilities emerge in human children during early development. The parrot's success demonstrates that abstract relational concepts can develop in brains structured very differently from mammals. Conceptual thinking, once considered uniquely human, appears in various forms across the animal kingdom. Some animals store long-term memory traces within their immune systems. The immune system maintains memory of past infections, allowing faster responses to previously encountered pathogens. This immunological memory is a form of information storage that does not involve the nervous system. The body remembers threats it has faced and prepares appropriate defenses. Vaccines rely on this capacity to create protective memories against diseases we have not actually caught. Some researchers argue that this represents a genuine form of memory, produced by biological processes functionally similar to those that create neural memories. Certain organisms without nervous systems rely entirely on such somatic memory. The boundaries between different forms of biological memory become blurred when we consider how information is stored in living systems. Memory may be a property of many biological systems, not just brains. The body remembers in ways that consciousness never observes. Conscious awareness arrives only after deeper brain processes have already decided. The timing of consciousness relative to neural activity challenges common assumptions about decision-making. Studies consistently show that brain activity predicting a choice begins before the person reports being aware of having decided. This gap between neural decision and conscious awareness can extend several seconds. The finding suggests that what we experience as conscious decision-making may be more like observation than origination. Deeper brain processes prepare choices that consciousness then experiences as its own. This does not necessarily eliminate agency, but does complicate our intuitive understanding of free will. The brain may generate options unconsciously, with consciousness serving to review, endorse, or occasionally veto prepared responses. The executive systems of consciousness retain the ability to override automatic responses in some situations. The relationship between consciousness and decision remains an active area of research and philosophical reflection. Elephants coordinate herd movements through vibrations traveling through the ground. Elephants produce low-frequency vocalizations and ground vibrations that can travel for miles. Other elephants detect these signals through their feet, using sensitive structures in their leg bones and possibly inner ear adaptations. This seismic communication allows coordination across distances where visual and airborne acoustic signals would fail. Herds can warn each other of danger, coordinate movements, and even communicate emotional states through these ground-borne messages. The rumbles carry information about the sender's identity, emotional state, and intention. The elephant's foot is both a locomotion organ and a sophisticated sense organ for detecting vibrations. This vibrational communication adds another dimension to elephant social intelligence. The complexity of elephant signaling suggests cognitive capacities for processing and integrating information from multiple sensory channels. Elephants navigate a perceptual world richer than human senses can directly experience. Creativity depends on brain networks that compete and cooperate simultaneously. Creative cognition involves dynamic interplay between multiple brain networks that normally oppose each other. The default mode network, active during imagination and mind-wandering, generates possibilities. The executive control network evaluates and refines these possibilities. The salience network monitors for promising ideas that deserve attention. The interplay between these networks determines whether creative ideas emerge and whether they are pursued. Creative thinking requires these networks to collaborate rather than simply alternating. The default mode generates, executive control judges, salience detects when something valuable has emerged. This dynamic balance produces ideas that are both novel and useful. People strong in creativity may be especially skilled at coordinating these network interactions. Understanding the neuroscience of creativity helps explain why creative capacity varies and how it might be cultivated. The creative brain is an orchestra of competing and cooperating systems. Cuttlefish remembers specific past events in a way resembling episodic memory. Cuttlefish appear to possess what researchers call episodic-like memory, the ability to recall specific past events, including what happened, where it happened, and when. In experiments, cuttlefish remember which food types they ate, in which locations, and how long ago. They adjust their foraging decisions based on these memories, preferring variety and avoiding recently visited locations. This capacity requires integrating multiple types of information into coherent memories of individual experiences. This memory for specific episodes was once thought unique to humans and perhaps a few other mammals. The cuttlefish achievement demonstrates that such memory can evolve in animals with very different brain structures. Episodic memory allows flexible planning based on personal history. The cuttlefish carries within its strange, wonderful brain a record of its individual life experiences. Sleep strengthens patterns you absorbed without consciously noticing them. Much of what we learn during waking hours enters memory without conscious awareness. During sleep, the brain consolidates these implicit memories, strengthening patterns that we absorbed without knowing it. Skills improve overnight as the sleeping brain replays and reinforces the neural pathways involved. Sequences that were practiced become more automatic. Patterns that were exposed become more recognizable. The night's processing transforms tentative traces into stable memories. This sleep-dependent consolidation explains why students who sleep after studying outperform those who continue cramming. The sleeping brain does essential cognitive work that cannot happen during wakefulness. Sleep is not merely rest, but an active phase of learning consolidation. What you know when you wake up includes knowledge that your sleeping brain processed from experiences you consciously forgot. Sleep serves intelligence in ways we are only beginning to understand. Certain fish build complex geometric structures that reveal spatial understanding. Male pufferfish of some species create elaborate circular patterns on the sandy ocean floor to attract mates. These geometric structures, discovered only recently, span several feet and feature precise ridges and valleys. The fish works tirelessly for days, using fins to sculpt the sand into symmetrical designs. The mathematical regularity of these patterns suggests innate templates that guide the construction process. The complexity of these structures suggests sophisticated spatial cognition in a tiny fish brain. The pattern must be maintained against currents and must conform to geometric principles that females apparently find attractive. This courtship behavior demonstrates planning, persistence, and spatial awareness that challenge assumptions about fish cognition. The underwater mandalas created by these fish are among the most striking examples of animal architecture. Nature produces artists in the most unexpected places. Human thought emerges from countless tiny brain networks working in shifting alliances. The brain is not a single unified processor, but a collection of smaller networks that form temporary coalitions to accomplish cognitive tasks. Different thoughts engage different combinations of these networks. As you shift from remembering the past to planning the future to processing language, different coalitions assemble and dissolve. No single region controls this process. Coordination emerges from the interactions themselves. The fluid nature of these network alliances allows the brain to reconfigure rapidly for different tasks. The thoughts you have right now emerge from a coalition that will dissolve moments after you think them. This architecture provides flexibility far exceeding what fixed circuits could achieve. Understanding how these network coalitions form and dissolve is central to understanding how thought works. The mind emerges from the dance of countless small systems, coordinating moment to moment. Young birds rehearse songs in their sleep as their brains prepare for dawn. Songbirds that learn their vocalizations practice during sleep in ways that mirror waking rehearsal. Brain activity during sleep reactivates the neural patterns associated with singing, replaying, and strengthening the circuits needed for the next day's performance. This nocturnal practice happens without any sound production. The bird lies quietly while its brain rehearses. Research has found that certain brain regions become even more active during sleep rehearsal than during actual singing. Young birds learning new songs show especially intense sleep rehearsal. By morning, their singing has often improved compared to the previous day. This sleep-dependent vocal learning parallels what happens in human skill consolidation. The bird's brain uses sleep to perfect abilities that matter for survival and reproduction. In the quiet of night, the sleeping bird prepares for the song that greets the dawn. Problem-solving improves when the brain shifts into energy-efficient states. The brain consumes substantial energy, and evolution has shaped cognitive systems toward efficiency. When solving problems, the brain often searches for solutions that minimize computational effort. Interestingly, solutions discovered during relaxed, low-energy states can be more elegant than those found during intense concentration. Insight solutions tend to be more efficient than incrementally derived ones. The brain in a relaxed state may be exploring solution spaces more economically. This connection between efficiency and relaxation helps explain why good ideas often arrive when mental effort decreases. The tired brain, unable to sustain brute force approaches, may discover shortcuts that energized thinking missed. Sometimes the best way to solve a hard problem is to stop trying so hard. Cognitive efficiency and creativity share deeper connections than intuition might suggest. Monkeys infer intentions from gestures in ways that mirror early human cognition. Monkeys and apes attend carefully to others' behavior and draw inferences about their intentions. A reaching gesture toward food suggests desire. A defensive posture signals fear. Primates use these inferences to predict what others will do next. This capacity to read intentions from behavior provides the foundation for sophisticated social cognition. The ability to see actions as expressions of mental states rather than mere physical movements is a crucial cognitive achievement. Understanding that actions reflect mental states is a cognitive achievement that develops early in human children and appears in our primate relatives as well. This intention reading supports cooperation, competition, and social learning. The ability to see through behavior to underlying mental states may have been a crucial step in the evolution of human social intelligence. Monkeys watching each other decode signals that reveal minds at work. Deep conversation can temporarily synchronize brain activity between two people. When people engage in meaningful conversation, their brain activity begins to align. Neural imaging studies show that listeners' brain patterns come to mirror those of speakers, with the most engaged listeners showing the closest synchronization. This neural coupling is associated with better comprehension and stronger memory for what was discussed. The phenomenon reflects how deeply social our brains are, designed to connect with other minds. During rich communication, separate brains effectively become coupled systems. This synchronization extends to physiological measures like heart rate and breathing. The brain areas that synchronize include those involved in language, emotion, and social understanding. The experience of feeling truly understood may have neural correlates in this brain-to-brain alignment. Deep conversation is not just an exchange of words, but a coordination of neural activity across individuals. Young wolves learn social rules by carefully observing conflicts within the pack. Wolf pups develop their understanding of pack dynamics through close observation of adult interactions. They watch conflicts, dominance displays, and reconciliations, learning who defers to whom and how disagreements are resolved. This social education is essential for surviving in a cooperative breeding society where status and relationships determine access to resources. Young wolves absorb the rules without being explicitly taught, picking up patterns from countless observations. The pup that observes carefully develops social competence that will serve throughout life. The learning process resembles how human children absorb social norms. Wolves develop mental models of their social world through observation and experience. This social intelligence allows the pack to function as a coordinated unit. The young wolf watching from the edge of the pack is studying lessons that will shape its entire life. Mental shortcuts reveal hidden patterns the brain has absorbed from experience. Heuristics are mental shortcuts that allow rapid decision-making without exhaustive analysis. These shortcuts sometimes lead to errors, but they often produce good results by leveraging patterns absorbed from experience. When you make a snap judgment that turns out to be right, your brain has applied knowledge you could not consciously articulate. These rapid assessments draw upon thousands of previous experiences compressed into intuitive responses. These intuitive responses reflect the brain's ability to extract regularities from experience and apply them automatically. Experts in any field develop rich repertoires of heuristics specific to their domain. The chess master sees good moves. The experienced doctor senses something wrong. These intuitions are not magical, but the product of extensive pattern learning. Mental shortcuts are intelligence compressed into rapid, automatic responses. Certain birds manipulate fire in ways suggesting causal understanding. In Australia, certain species of raptors have been observed deliberately spreading fire to flush out prey. These birds pick up burning sticks and drop them in unburned areas, creating new fires that drive rodents and insects into the open. This fire-spreading behavior appears intentional rather than accidental, suggesting that the birds understand the causal relationship between fire and prey accessibility. Indigenous Australians have long recognized this behavior, which scientists are now documenting formally. The birds have apparently learned to exploit fire as a hunting tool over many generations. If the birds truly understand that fire causes prey to flee, this represents sophisticated causal reasoning. The behavior demonstrates planning and tool use in service of hunting goals. These fire hawks, as they are sometimes called, challenge the notion that mastery of fire is uniquely human. Building mental models of whole systems expands the reach of human intelligence. Humans uniquely construct mental models of complex systems, from machines to economies to ecosystems. These models allow us to predict how systems will respond to interventions, even when we have never encountered similar situations before. System thinking extends intelligence beyond immediate perception to include structures and dynamics that cannot be directly observed. An engineer understands how changing one component affects the whole machine. An ecologist grasps how removing a species ripples through the food web. This system's perspective emerged gradually in human history and remains challenging to master. This capacity for systemic reasoning underlies science, engineering, and policy. Mental models compress vast complexity into manageable representations that support reasoning. The human ability to think in systems vastly extends what intelligence can achieve. Primates track social debts and reciprocity across many years. Chimpanzees and other primates remember who has helped them and who has failed to reciprocate. These social accounts persist for years, influencing future interactions. An individual who helped during a past conflict is more likely to receive support in return. Those who failed to repay debts may find themselves abandoned when they need assistance. This long-term tracking of social debts and credits requires substantial memory and social cognition. The primate must remember not just what happened, but who was involved and what obligations were created. These social ledgers shape the fabric of primate society across years and generations. This reciprocal system forms the basis of cooperation and social cohesion in primate groups. The capacity for social bookkeeping may have been a crucial driver in the evolution of primate intelligence. Memory strengthens when new knowledge connects to personal meaning and emotion. Information that links to existing knowledge and carries emotional significance is remembered far better than isolated, neutral facts. The brain privileges meaningful information because it is more likely to be useful. Emotional events trigger neuromodulator release that enhances memory consolidation. Personal relevance creates multiple retrieval pathways that make future recall easier. This is why we remember significant life events vividly while forgetting mundane details. The events that shape who we are become permanently inscribed while trivia fades away. Effective learning connects new information to what the learner already knows and cares about. Teachers who engage students emotionally help create stronger memories. The architecture of memory reflects what matters, weaving new knowledge into the fabric of personal significance. Memory serves meaning rather than mere recording. Sharks navigate across oceans using the magnetic field as a natural map. Sharks possess the ability to detect Earth's magnetic field and use it for navigation across vast oceanic distances. This magnetic sense allows sharks to maintain direction and potentially recognize specific locations through magnetic signatures. Some species return to the same breeding or feeding grounds over thousands of kilometers, navigating with precision that suggests detailed magnetic maps. The sensory mechanisms underlying this ability are not fully understood, but specialized cells responsive to magnetic fields have been identified. The magnetic map provides information that no other sense could supply in the featureless open ocean. Sharks have navigated the oceans for hundreds of millions of years using this ancient sensory system. Their magnetic intelligence connects them to forces invisible to human perception. The shark cruising through dark water reads a map written in magnetic fields. Mental rest between difficult ideas accelerates the arrival of insight. When working on challenging problems, deliberate periods of rest can accelerate the path to solution. This incubation effect has been documented across creative domains. The break allows unconscious processing to continue while relieving the fatigue that limits conscious deliberation. During rest, the mind may explore alternative approaches that focus thinking blocks. The work continues beneath awareness, even as the surface mind turns to other things. The insight that emerges after a break often feels effortless, though it results from continued background processing. Strategic rest is thus not laziness, but a productive component of creative work. The rhythm of engagement and rest optimizes cognitive performance. Minds that push continuously without pause may miss solutions that would emerge during breaks. Rest is part of how intelligence works, not an obstacle to it. Orangutans improvise solutions that reveal flexible planning and foresight. Orangutans in both wild and captive settings have demonstrated impressive capacities for flexible problem solving. They fashion tools for specific purposes, sometimes modifying them through multiple steps before use. Orangutans have been observed planning for future needs, collecting tools in advance of situations where they will be useful. This foresight indicates mental representation of future scenarios comparable to human planning. In captivity, orangutans solve novel problems with strategies that reflect understanding of physical principles rather than trial and error. Each new challenge is approached thoughtfully rather than impulsively, with visible consideration before action. Their deliberate, thoughtful approach to challenges suggests internal reasoning before action. The orangutan's quiet intelligence operates through patient observation and careful planning. These great apes share cognitive capacities that place them among the most intelligent non-human animals. Diverse knowledge within a single mind sparks unexpected creative connections. People with broad knowledge across multiple domains often generate more creative ideas than narrow specialists. The diversity provides raw material for combination, allowing improbable connections that specialists would never consider. Polymaths throughout history have produced disproportionate numbers of breakthrough innovations. The ability to see links between disparate fields can reveal solutions invisible from any single perspective. Ideas that seem unrelated within one domain may reveal deep connections when viewed from another. This advantage of breadth complements the depth that expertise provides. The most creative minds often combine deep expertise in one area with broad familiarity across many others. Curious exploration beyond one's specialty may not seem immediately useful, but builds the conceptual library from which creativity draws. Diverse knowledge feeds the associative processes that generate new ideas. Pigeons grasp abstract rules that scientists once believed required large brains. Pigeons have demonstrated remarkable capacities for abstract reasoning in laboratory settings. They can learn categorization rules, recognize relationships between stimuli, and transfer these rules to novel examples. Pigeons have been trained to distinguish between paintings by different artists and to identify orthographic rules distinguishing words from non-words. These achievements suggest that general learning mechanisms can produce sophisticated cognitive outcomes even in relatively simple brains. The pigeon brain accomplishes through different architecture what larger brains achieve through theirs. Small brains packed with efficient circuits can achieve surprisingly sophisticated outcomes. These findings challenge assumptions about the neural requirements for rule-based cognition. The humble pigeon navigating city streets carries a mind capable of genuine abstraction. Animal cognition continually reveals capacities we once thought beyond their reach. Human culture evolves far faster than genetics ever could. Genetic evolution operates across generations, requiring births and deaths to change population frequencies. Cultural evolution can transform within a single lifetime as ideas spread, mutate, and are selected through social processes. This acceleration allows humans to adapt to new environments and challenges vastly faster than biological evolution permits. Writing, printing, and digital communication have further accelerated cultural change. Knowledge accumulates across generations, with each cohort building on what predecessors discovered. What took biology millions of years to achieve can happen culturally in centuries or decades. This cultural ratchet, where gains are preserved and built upon, produces cumulative progress impossible for genetic evolution alone. Human intelligence extends through culture, achieving adaptations that biology could never reach. We are cultural beings as much as biological ones, shaped by inherited knowledge that transcends genetics. The brain learns language by detecting tiny statistical patterns in streams of sound. Infants acquire language by tracking statistical regularities in the speech they hear. Certain syllables frequently follow others, and these transition probabilities help the infant brain segment continuous speech into words. This statistical learning occurs automatically without conscious effort. The baby listening to conversation extracts patterns that will form the foundation of linguistic knowledge. Within minutes of exposure to artificial languages, babies detect the underlying patterns. Adults also use statistical learning when acquiring second languages, though less efficiently than children. This pattern extraction ability extends beyond language to music, visual sequences, and motor skills. The brain is fundamentally a pattern detector, extracting regularities from the stream of experience. Language acquisition demonstrates how powerful statistical learning can be when applied across thousands of hours of input. Artificial neural networks discover strategies that mirror biological intelligence. Deep learning systems trained on specific tasks often develop internal representations resembling those found in biological brains. Visual processing networks form features similar to those in visual cortex. Language models capture aspects of semantic structure that parallel human language processing. These convergences are striking because the artificial systems were not designed to mimic biology. The similarities emerge naturally from the structure of the problems being solved rather than from deliberate imitation. The similarities suggest that certain computational solutions may be optimal for particular problems regardless of the substrate implementing them. Artificial and biological intelligence may converge on similar strategies because both face similar constraints. Studying artificial systems can therefore illuminate biological cognition and vice versa. The dialogue between neuroscience and artificial intelligence benefits both fields. Some insects communicate through vibrations hidden within plant stems. Many insects communicate through substrate vibrations rather than airborne sound. Planthopers, treehoppers, and other insects generate vibrations that travel through stems and leaves. These signals can carry courtship displays, territorial warnings, and information about food sources. The plant itself functions as a communication medium, its structure shaping the transmitted signals. Different plant structures transmit vibrations differently, creating acoustic environments as varied as habitats. Different species vibrate at characteristic frequencies, allowing species recognition. Some plants may even be influenced by these vibrations, though this remains under investigation. This hidden vibrational world operates beyond human perception. The busy communication network within a single plant demonstrates that intelligence and communication take forms we may never directly experience. Exploring questions with no clear answers stretches the mind beyond routine patterns. Engaging with open-ended questions that have no definitive answers can expand cognitive flexibility. When we explore paradoxes, ambiguities, and mysteries, we exercise modes of thinking that clear-cut problems do not require. This stretching builds capacity for handling genuine novelty and complexity. The mind that encounters mystery without demanding resolution develops tolerance for uncertainty. Many of life's most important questions lack final answers but benefit from continued exploration. Philosophy, contemplative traditions, and creative arts all work with questions that cannot be resolved once and for all. The willingness to sit with uncertainty without demanding premature closure may be a sign of cognitive maturity. Minds that engage deeply with mysteries may develop richer capacities than those requiring certainty. The open question invites continued growth rather than closing off further thought. Primates modify tools in ways that demonstrate causal reasoning. Chimpanzees and other great apes not only use tools, but modify them to improve their effectiveness. A chimp may strip a twig to make it better for extracting termites, selecting the right diameter and length. These modifications indicate understanding of the causal relationship between tool features and functional outcomes. The ape considers what properties the tool needs and adjusts accordingly. This purposeful modification goes beyond simple tool use into the realm of tool manufacture. Some chimpanzees create multi-step tools, crafting implements through sequences of modifications before use. Some populations have developed tool-making traditions that spread through social learning. The cumulative improvements across generations show rudimentary cultural evolution in tool technology. Primate tool modification reveals minds that reason about causes, plan ahead, and learn from others. Collaboration often produces intelligence that exceeds any individual contribution. When individuals work together effectively, the resulting collective intelligence can far exceed what any participant could achieve alone. Science advances through collaboration among many researchers building on each other's work. Complex engineering projects require teams with diverse expertise collaborating toward shared goals. This collective intelligence emerges from communication, division of labor, and combination of different perspectives. The whole becomes qualitatively different from the sum of its parts when minds work together effectively. The group thinks in ways that no individual mind contains. Human civilization represents an extreme expression of this collective intelligence, with cultural knowledge distributed across millions of minds. The achievements of humanity vastly exceed what any lone genius could accomplish. Intelligence is not only a property of individual brains, but emerges from interactions between them. We are smarter together. Whale songs spread across oceans like cultural waves, evolving through generations. Humpback whale songs evolve over time as males modify their songs and other males copy the changes. New song elements introduced in one population can spread horizontally to other populations thousands of kilometers away. These cultural waves represent learned traditions transmitted between unrelated individuals. Song fashions come and go as certain patterns become popular and then are replaced by new innovations. The speed at which new songs spread suggests active communication networks spanning entire ocean basins. This cultural evolution of whale song parallels human cultural change in striking ways. The whales are not merely singing inherited patterns, but participating in an evolving tradition that changes year by year. Whale culture demonstrates that social learning and cultural evolution are not uniquely human. The ocean carries cultural information as well as biological creatures through its depths. Calm environments support deeper reflection and clearer thought. External calm can permit internal clarity, allowing thoughts to develop without constant interruption or urgency. When the environment demands little immediate response, attention can turn inward toward more reflective processing. Many thinkers throughout history have sought quiet settings to do their deepest work. The relationship between external and internal calm suggests that mind and environment are not fully separate. Creating spaces conducive to thought may be as important as cultivating internal abilities. The quiet room, the natural setting, the unscheduled hour all create conditions where deeper thinking can emerge. Modern environments often provide little respite from stimulation, potentially limiting the depth of reflection people achieve. The value of silence, nature, and simplicity for thinking has been recognized across cultures. Calm is not merely pleasant, but may be functionally necessary for certain kinds of cognitive work. Early signs of numerical awareness appear in animals through subtle neural responses. Many animals possess a basic sense of number that does not depend on language or formal training. This approximate number system allows discrimination between different quantities and supports adaptive decisions about food, predators, and mates. Neural recordings reveal neurons tuned to specific quantities, in the brains of monkeys and other animals. These number neurons respond regardless of the sensory modality through which quantity is presented. The existence of similar numerical abilities across species suggests deep evolutionary roots. Babies demonstrate numerical awareness before they can count verbally, indicating an innate foundation. This innate numerical sense operates automatically, providing rapid quantity assessments without counting. This primitive number sense may provide the scaffolding upon which human mathematical abilities are built. Mathematics begins in the intuitive awareness of quantity that we share with other animals. Human intelligence may be expanding as we merge with the technologies we create. Our cognitive tools extend intelligence far beyond what biology provides. Writing created external memory that persists across generations. Calculation devices expanded numerical abilities beyond mental arithmetic. The internet connects minds into vast knowledge networks accessible instantly. These technologies do not merely assist thinking, but transform what thinking can accomplish. The boundary between mind and tool becomes blurry when the tool is constantly available and deeply integrated into cognitive routines. The smartphone in your pocket has become an extension of memory, a gateway to unlimited information. Some theorists argue that mind extends into the technological environment that supports it. As artificial intelligence grows more capable, the partnership between human and machine cognition may produce unprecedented capabilities. The future of intelligence may involve ever deeper integration between biological and artificial systems. And now, the quiet wonders of intelligence begin to gently fade into the stillness of the night. You have wandered through over 100 peaceful truths about the nature of thinking minds, from the earliest sparks of creativity to the ceaseless work of sleeping brains, from animal ingenuity that defies expectation to the hidden patterns that guide every human thought, from the wisdom of ancient forests to the algorithms that echo biological minds. You have explored how intelligence emerges in unexpected places, how memory shapes understanding, how creativity arises from beautiful imperfection, and how countless species share the gift of reasoning in their own remarkable ways. You have learned that beneath every conscious thought, there are countless processes working in quiet harmony. You are connected to this story more deeply than you may realize. Right now, as you listen, your own intelligence is doing what it has always done, processing these words, forming new connections, filtering the signals around you, preparing your mind for rest. It does not need your permission or your attention. It simply serves faithfully and silently as it has since the very first moment of your life. If your eyes feel heavy now, let them close. Let the rhythm of your breath become steady, like the gentle pulse of thought beneath awareness, like the quiet hum of a mind that never stops learning. Tonight, as you rest, your brain continues its quiet work. It will guard your sleep, weave your dreams, consolidate the memories of this day, rehearse skills you are learning, process emotions you are feeling, and prepare you gently for tomorrow. You are a small, warm presence within this vast thinking world, peacefully resting among the wonders. Sleep well, sweet dreams, and may you carry with you the quiet knowledge that intelligence is everywhere, flowing through forests and oceans, through creatures great and small, and most intimately, through the beautiful complexity of your own resting mind. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the mysteries of thinking minds. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to Drowsy Discovery for more soothing explorations of how intelligence works in all its wondrous forms. There are more wonders waiting, more secrets hidden in the depths of cognition and the quiet corners of creativity, more gentle truths to drift through on quiet evenings. Rest well, and may the gentle wonder of intelligence keep you company through the night. This has been Drowsy Discovery. Good night.